away with it.
Yeah. So you came here from South Africa as a young person?
Yeah. Well, no, I was 30. So Justin was 3. So I was 33 when we came here.
As a young person. Yeah, so 33. You land to London, to one of our airports, and it's setting up a new life from a totally different country.
Yeah.
Phenomenal differences in England.
Yeah.
And phenomenal
No
differences
friends,
in
no family.
Yep. So what was the case of, how did you start life here in the UK? What were you doing when you arrived?
So my oldest had just turned 3 and my youngest was 3 months when I came. He was 3 weeks when my ex came. He had to come over. So his company transferred him here. We had been thinking about leaving because we realised there was no future for our boys. My grandparents and my ex's grandparents were from England anyway, so we had the ancestral. And his company said, "Are you prepared to relocate? We need you in England." And we thought, bloody hell, there's our answer to our prayer sort of thing. So we came. That first year, yes, it was really hard because I've got my friends. I'm very, they mean so much to me. I got a toddler. I got a very young baby.
Always amazes me because whether it's starting a business or relocating and starting a new life, major changes for people. There's like turning points in your life where a new chapter starts. And kind of packing the bags, the shipping crate.
And
we're in this now. That's committed.
Our attitude was, because a lot of South Africans said, "Well, let's go and see. We can always come back." Our attitude was, "This is it. This is our new life." There wasn't the "we might go back" attitude, and I think that's what helped me settle quicker. Yeah. My brother was already here. He had come over sort of 5 years before I did, but he didn't live close to where I was. And then he was getting married in the November. We came in the June. So he was flying my mom. And I'd said to my mom, because she was my parents were divorced then. I said, "Look, I'm not going to leave you, but I need to get there, find somewhere to live in that, and then we'll bring you over." So my brother was flying her out anyway for his wedding. So she came in the September and stayed with us for 6 months and then found a job in her own little place and everything. And I think that helped settling in, having my mom here. I was never really close to my dad, so that didn't really faze me that much. And initially, I kind of did like market research in the evenings because I had young children and childcare you couldn't afford to pay for the thing. And then when the boys were at school, I then got a job as school secretary in a school, purely because I didn't have kids to put them in daycare. Yeah. I wanted to be there for them, so I got the school job to earn extra money. But I could still be there for the kids during holidays, drop them at school, pick them up from school.
So fast forward,
so that was 17 years I was at the school. The boys were grown, and I didn't need the school job. The one had already left school. The other was doing GCSE. One was doing A-levels, the other was doing GCSE.
So 17 years of working in a school,
which is like
you see generations in 17 years, don't you? You see an awful lot of children pass through.
And it wasn't very... I could do the job with my eyes closed, and it's a very closed kind of work situation. You kind of felt like a child sometimes. And then I was going through a divorce, and so we separated, and then I had been a size 20 for all that time, ever since I'm, 17 years. And... I was like coming up towards 50, and I thought, I'm not going to be fat in 50, and I can do nothing about being 50. So this is, and I had done
2 choices.
Every diet out there, lost weight on some of them, always put it back on, never. I was an emotional eater. Okay. And then my friend had done this diet, and I thought, right, this is my last attempt. Found a consultant, started the diet, started losing weight. The divorce hadn't gone through. We were separated. He had moved
moving
out.
House and divorce are the two kind of most stressful things that you can go through. I've managed to divorce twice.
Oh,
and
gosh.
It's a stressful.
It is
thing.
very, especially when you're divorcing a narcissist.
And it's easy for the the comfort eating, the bottle of wine, or
and I've always been an emotional eater. Well, I kind of.
How would you describe an emotional eater?
You feed your emotions, so you. You feel so horrible, you feel so bad, and then you go to food to feed those emotions.
So we get a dopamine hit from the food, or more of the sugar hit? Or
I'm not quite sure exactly what it is, but you if you're an emotional eater, that tends to be, I can't control, what can, and you go towards that, not realising.
Did you have certain things that would be your go-to for eating? Because I'm looking in the mirror here thinking, if I have a really stressful day, I will go for a particular type of junk food that I know just hits the mark, and within minutes of eating it, you feel instantly better.
Yeah, because you get that 5-minute hit, and then boom, it's gone.
And then it's gone.
And then you need something else to get that hit.
For me, it's KFC. If I have a really stressful day, And
mine would be chocolate, anything actually, because so I can go both ways.
Okay.
I can go through being really stressed and just not eating anything at all for like a week on end, literally not eating anything. Or I go to the emotional eating, and then it starts with the emotion, or it did start with the emotional eating, and then it would very quickly, potentially, not all the time, go into binge eating. Yeah. So then it was like, right, well, what can I... And then I would
you'd worked out this wasn't just about moving more or consuming less calories. This was about your mindset as much as anything.
A lot of the time it's not. And this is what I've learned over doing this, and this is what I help people with, because you go to the doctor, just eat less. I remember going to the doctor in the 17 years and them saying, and I actually remember sitting there and saying, how much less do you want me to eat, and how much more do you want me to move? I was hardly eating anything. That in itself is wrong information, because what happens then, and what happened with me, was my metabolism is slowing down. My body's not getting all the nutrients, minerals, and vitamins that it needs.
So it's in that fight or flight mode.
Yeah. I've got to keep this body alive. So let's slow everything down, and what she is eating, let's store that in the fat cells, because I might not get my nutrients tomorrow.
Yeah.
A lot of weight, and people think, oh gee whiz, look at that, look at that person, they could lose. Yes, there are some people that just eat out of.
How did you feel back then? When you were that size 20?
Hated it. I always had a bubbly, smile,
Vivacious.
whatever, but inside, I didn't. It did get to a point where I started withdrawing. I had no self-esteem, no confidence. I started withdrawing. I didn't want to go out because it didn't matter. I'd put something on, and I always look. And you start getting, you don't really see yourself in the mirror. All you see is this sort of thing. And if so then I was going through the divorce and that, and I wanted to lose weight. I was so miserable. I was so unhappy. I had been unhappy all the time. With my weight and how I looked. But then I was thrown a whole new, how am I going to look after my boys? How am I going to put a roof over their head? I work in a
whole new
school.
level of stress.
Yes, it's a full-time job, but you can imagine what kind of pay you get in a school.
Yep.
I can't afford. And then my consultant offered me the business opportunity and said, why don't you become a consultant? Because I was kind of thinking, right, I've got to go back to pre-children and go back to executive secretary and executive PA, and I thought, you know what have I got to lose? If it doesn't work, I can still look. So
Had you ever run a business before?
Not really. When I had my oldest son, my in-laws had helped us open up a key shoe bar, key cutting shoe bar, to enable me to be able to work but still be there with my son. He was born with a heart condition, so I couldn't go back to my job. I was just going to go on maternity leave, but I couldn't with his heart condition. And so I ran that, but they kind of ran it because they sort of
had a vested interest in it.
Yeah. So no, this was.
So you started out as a consultant, and you take that step. You're committed. What was the next kind of step? Is that a case of going out and meeting people, advertising in magazines? How did you?
I started as a consultant on top of my school job. So I was working in the evenings after my school job and weekends, building the business and becoming a consultant. I'd done the training and everything. And by 17 years of the school job, I was hating it. I just wanted to get out of that. But I couldn't financially.
You can't jump from one ship to another.
So, but when I was at the school job, I was hating every minute. And even though I'm now working long hours and I'm working into the evening and I'm working my weekends, I was loving what I was doing. I was loving being able to, because for me, it was literally life-changing on all aspects, my health, my self-esteem, confidence, everything. And to be able to give my knowledge and my experience to others, I just loved it, and seeing them transform.
So talk me through some of that transformation. What did those early days of starting on the diet and making lifestyle changes, how did that all kind of come about and slot into place?
So starting on the diet was actually pretty easy because the diet works, the plan works. It's been going successfully for 40 years. Yeah. So follow the plan, it works. So that was pretty easy, especially initially if you start on step one and you're replacing all your meals with the meal replacements. You just know that, right, I've got to have my products and my water and good to go. The weight falls off quite quickly. So then that really motivates you. And then you're thinking, wow, I can. Because then you start believing in yourself.
So how long did that?
I can do this.
Because everyone wants a silver bullet, don't they? Everyone's like, oh, want to drop 2 dress sizes. No, I'll get there eventually. But the silver bullet is I want to drop 2 dress sizes for a bikini body for the summer or everything like that. But what was the kind of, especially in yourself, that you, from that kind of size 20 dress, what kind of transformation took time?
Generally, and we can't guarantee because everybody loses differently. There's medical conditions, medication. Generally, you're losing about 1 stone a month. Yeah. So you're seeing that loss. I went from a size 20 to a size 8.
Crikey.
And that was, for me, that was about... it took me longer, a little bit longer. That was about 7 months. But whilst I was doing that, I was going through this divorce.
That's phenomenal. That is a phenomenal change.
Yeah, but I was going through the divorce, and then things went pear-shaped and
was a size 8 a healthy size for you, or did
it was? And I maintained that for 8 years. Yeah. I'm not a size 8 now, and that's not down to me.
I didn't check when you came in, don't worry.
That's not down to me not maintaining it. Yeah. I'm about a size 10 now.
That's why I'm saying sometimes people can, especially you see celebrities that have gone really hard at dieting, and then they look gone, or they don't look in proportion at times, and sometimes people find where their balance is not. Their target is not always where their balance is.
I was fine where I had maintained. But then I got an autoimmune condition, and that one of the first things, and that's when I knew, something's not right here because my
your
weight
body
was
changes
going up.
as you get older.
But I had maintained that for, coming up 9 years sort of thing. So my autoimmune condition has attacked my thyroid, which so I'm dealing with all of that. Yeah. But
you're in a better place to deal with it rather than dealing with it when you were size 20.
Initially, because I had worked so hard and because I had become so much healthier and made the lifestyle changes that was needed, I initially that first 6 months I was like really angry and just thought, oh, this is ridiculous, and then I sort of like I do, because I don't give up. I thought, right, this is ridiculous. I've worked too hard. I know I'm not eating all the rubbish that I did before. Yeah. I know that I've made these lifestyle changes. So now I just need to make more changes to be, And then the wow moment for me was, wow, imagine if I got this diagnosis when I was a size 20, how much worse a position I would be in. So I then furthered, I had moved through the steps of the program. I had made the food choices, the portion sizes. It's little things that seem overwhelming that actually, I always say to my clients, if I said to you, right, a lifetime of bad habits today, you're coming on plan with me, that's got to stop immediately. Well, it's unrealistic, it's unsustainable.
And that's how people break, because, it's like, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week after a week of burnout. And you can get that kind of burnout of motivation in whatever you're doing if you go too hard, too fast.
But if I said to you, whilst I help you lose weight, we're going to make little changes along the way, you're not even going to notice that. So by the time you get to your target weight and I get you into maintenance, you're naturally not going to want to go back to your old ways. Because now, one thing that I really found was I didn't realize what healthy felt like.
Yep.
Until I felt healthy. Now I realize how unhealthy I felt. But you'd put it down to, I'm tired because the kids keep me awake, or I'm tired because I'm working too hard, or whatever it might be.
What do you think some of those small changes were that you made along the way?
The kind of foods I was choosing. The biggest change for me over time, and it doesn't happen there again, we want that quick fix. We've got to be, if we want to be healthier, and I'm looking at being healthier and being slimmer as a byproduct of being healthier. Because when we look at being healthier, that really makes you more determined, because, I want to be a size 8, I want to lose, I want to be skinny. Cake. I'll be skinny tomorrow. I'll start the diet tomorrow. When you change your mindset is a really key, important thing. When you change your mindset, I want to be healthier. Cake. Yeah, I can have that cake down the line. But right now, my goal is to become healthier. Yeah. When I'm healthier, when I've lost the weight, when I'm, gone from being morbidly obese into a normal range, then yes, I can have a piece of cake because it's my son's birthday. Yeah. But I don't need to have a piece of cake every day. No. And it's those little changes.
It's amazing, isn't it? I grew up in the countryside, youngest of a family of 5 children, and big family. My grandparents' farm, great-grandparents' farm. So a lot of the food that you ate was full-fat milk, full-fat butter, lots of fresh vegetables and fruit. My mum had an allotment in her garden, strawberries and raspberries and gooseberries and all sorts of things like this. Yeah. We had a peach tree outside the front door. So kind of an idyllic 1980s upbringing. Life was tough, but you actually had a lot of good quality food. I remember at school talking to some of the other kids, and they'd be like, we're having a roast on Sunday. And my mum would do a roast 2 or 3 times a week, because it was one of the easiest and cheapest ways to feed a big family. And that really shocked me. I was like, you only have roast once a week? I'm sick of them, every day. And the interesting thing is that, looking back, I remember, a roast chicken would feed a family of 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, even in our house, quite often there'll be 2 chickens that go into the oven, and we eat an awful lot more meat. Yeah. And we eat an awful lot more processed food now.
Well, don't get me started on that one. You're talking about going back. When I look at me and my whole weight journey, I grew up in the era where you'd sit down for dinner and my parents say, you don't get up from the table and scream. Yep. So basically,
I call that the wartime mentality. My grandparents were like it, that food was so scarce in the wartime,
and I get
that you appreciate what's put on your plate, and it's very difficult not to pass that down to my daughter now.
But what they taught me was, don't listen to your body and stop eating when you full. They taught me, you clear your plate. Yeah. So I grew up, you go out, you order a meal, you're full, you think, you're undoing your top button, but you're clearing your plate. Yeah.